You won't believe the quiet storm that unfolded inside the Brown family, where love, loyalty, and control collided in ways that left hearts broken and bonds tested. From forgotten birthdays to impossible ultimatums, one mother's unwavering strength changed everything. Join us as we explore heartbreak, resilience, and those surprising victories that define this family's story. Ready to see what really happened behind closed doors? Dive in and watch now. Is there ever a moment when you watch a family unfold and just feel that ache, that mix of longing and disbelief when the people who are supposed to protect, love, and guide each other somehow miss the mark entirely? That's the story we're stepping into today, a story of a sprawling family, of loyalty being tested, of love measured in ways that feel both unfair and profoundly human. This is not just another reality show tale, it's one of choices, consequences, and the fragile ties that bind us to those we call family. Picture this, a house full of kids, laughter off the walls, a family tree so big it could seem to stretch across the state. But behind the smiles, behind the carefully arranged photo ops, lies a quieter tension, a conflict that doesn't announce itself with shouting or fights, but with absence, with cold distance, with the little moments that accumulate into something much heavier. A forgotten birthday. A conversation that turns into a lecture. Rules that seem designed not for protection, but for control. You can almost feel the weight of it pressing down on everyone involved. Now imagine being a young adult in that house, striving for independence and trying to be responsible, wanting to just be heard. And yet, somehow, your very presence becomes a threat. The world tells you that children are supposed to look up to their parents, to respect them, to rely on them, but what happens when the parent in question sees that respect as a transaction, something to be demanded rather than earned? That's the tension at the heart of the Brown family story, and it's something that echoes in ways many of us understand. The struggle between obedience and authenticity, between loyalty and self-preservation. Two figures stand at the center of this storm: Kody Brown, a man who built his life around issues of authority and hierarchy in general, and the image of the patriarch in particular. He has homes, he has a vision, and he has expectations that, at times, feel impossibly rigid, impossibly controlling. And then there's Robin, commanding in her own right, her presence interwoven with his decisions, her wishes shaping the daily rhythm of family life. Thus, they present themselves as a front unto the world, an impression of strength. But as any person who has peered closely into the dynamics of a family knows well, such strength in appearance most often conceals fragility, and sometimes even fear. On the other side, there is Janelle, a mother whose approach is quietly revolutionary. Not loud, not forceful, not demanding of obedience, but present. Steadfast. A parent who understands that love is not a list of rules to be followed, but a commitment to be felt in every interaction, every act of support, every moment of attention. Her bond with her children is not contingent on perfection, or fear, or control. It is forged in patience, nurtured in understanding, and strengthened through experience. It is this contrast, this tension between the two approaches to parenthood, which drives the drama you're about to witness. Have you ever wondered how far a parent might go to maintain that control? How much a child can go through before the weight of neglect begins to shape who they are? Or possibly, you have witnessed the quiet power of a mother who could not, compromise her love in the face of all that is demanded of her. These are questions that rise to the surface as we peek into the lives of the Browns, and they are questions that stick with you long after the cameras stop rolling. Everything comes to a head in a period with which the world is all too familiar: the early days of a pandemic that changed everything. What should have been a moment for collective caution and care instead became a crucible, revealing old wounds, amplifying existing fractures, and forcing choices that would define family bonds for years to come. Some rules, reasonable or extreme, were set, but their enforcement carried undercurrents of control and loyalty, tests that pushed the older children to their breaking points. Through it all, we watch young adults trying to navigate the line between duty and self-preservation, between love for a father and recognition of his failings. There are these moments, so stark, so small yet monumental, you can almost feel them in your chest: the quiet devastation of a child who hopes for affection and instead receives indifference, the calculated decisions of a parent who sees compliance as love, the choice of a mother to stand firm, even when the world, or at least a powerful figure in her world, demands she bend. These are not moments sensationalized for entertainment, but rather the pulse of human experience, the drama of everyday lives magnified through the lens of a family trying to survive itself. And yet, despite the tension, despite the heartbreak, there is hope. There is the resilience of children who, though neglected in various ways, find strength with one another, who carve out spaces of autonomy and belonging despite the obstacles in their path. There is Janelle, whose quiet fortitude has nurtured a thriving family, a living testament that love, care, and moral clarity can outlast neglect and control. It is a story that reminds us that the choices we make, whether selfish or selfless, echo across decades, making legacies not by wealth or power, but but by connection, understanding, and presence. So, as we delve deep into the story of the Brown family, get set to witness a tapestry woven with conflict, courage, heartbreak, and triumph. Ask yourself, what does it mean to truly be a parent? What does it take to protect, to guide, and to nurture not through fear but through love? How far can ambition and control distort family bonds, and how far can resilience, patience, and unwavering care restore them? Today, we're going to walk you through the story as it unfolded, scene by scene, testimony by testimony, moment by moment. We'll examine the heartbreak, the lessons, and the remarkable resilience that shines through even the darkest chapters. We'll explore the decisions which define these lives and the echoes they leave behind. And through it all, we'll reflect on the universal truths that resonate with anyone who has ever tried to balance love, responsibility, and family. So settle in, take a deep breath, and join us on this journey. For this is not the story of a single family, this is a story about all of us, the choices we make, the love we give, and the legacies that remain. And if you have ever felt the sigh of family or struggled with connection, loyalty, or understanding, you will find pieces of yourself reflected here. In the quiet corridors of the Brown family's world, there was a battle being waged not with fists but with words, neglect, and unspoken tension. There was one prize that truly mattered in it all: the children. The lines had been drawn for years. First, they were subtle, hardly apparent. But now they were sharp, undeniable. There was Kody and Robin Brown on one side, demanding loyalty, obedience, a kind of allegiance that looked very much like surrender. And then there was Janelle Brown, the mother, who knew one thing more: love is not a proclamation to be commanded. It is a connection formed through presence, support, and unwavering acceptance. The scene opens on a heart-wrenching moment: a young man, Gabriel Brown, on the cusp of adulthood, his face streaked with tears as he recalls the day his father forgot his birthday, a small act, devastating in its erasure. And then there is the contrast: Janelle, radiant and strong, surrounded by all her children, their smiles bright, clear, and protective in their love for one another. The message can't help but feel clear: the war is over, and a verdict has been silently delivered. Kody and Robin demanded loyalty, but Janelle earned it. This is not a story of conflict but of consequences, and the court where those consequences mean most is the one to which every parent answers: the children themselves. We now enter this courtroom, one not of wood and robes, but of memories and life experiences. The space is filled with faces quite familiar, the very children whose hearts and lives are the stakes of this trial. In this documentary-style recounting, there are no legal texts, no gavel banging, no external authority. In this setting, truth is measured by lived experience. The children and their voices, along with their memories, are the jury, the witnesses, and, ultimately, the arbiters of justice. At the center of it all sits Kody Brown, dumbfounded, defensive, but with Robin by his side, assured about their vision, and yet blind to the pain it has caused. The charges are clear: emotional neglect, parental favoritism, and the systematic isolation of some children while elevating others. And as the story unfolds, we will see how this quiet war, this struggle for control, affection, and validation shaped the lives of the Brown family in ways that are both heartbreaking and revealing. The courtroom is unlike any you have ever seen on television. There's no polished mahogany, no robed judge, and no law books lining the walls. Instead, the chamber is filled with memories, faded photographs of happier times, echoes of laughter, and reminders of what has been lost. The jury is not composed of strangers but of the very children who grew up under the watchful eyes of Kody, Robin, and Janelle. These children are not just witnesses, they are the ultimate judges of what truly happened. At the center sits Kody Brown, confident yet increasingly uneasy, flanked by Robin, his strategist and partner in control. The charges are severe: gross parental neglect, emotional abandonment, conspiracy to commit familial alienation, and breach of patriarchal duty. But this is not a courtroom of legal precedent, it's a courtroom of lived experience, where every action or inaction is evidence. The prosecution is built upon the testimony of the OG children, those 13 grown sons and daughters who carry the weight of past hurts. Their cause is not of laws but of broken promises, missed birthdays, and tear-streaked phone calls. They speak from a place of truth, every word an echo of reality, that the demand for obedience by Kody cannot replace what he failed to show in love. Meanwhile, the defense is simple, almost archaic: I am the father. I demand respect. But before this court, respect cannot be demanded, it can only be earned. The children, the jury, the collective conscience of the family, they hold the ultimate authority. And as the trial unfolds, it will become clear that this is more than an insufficient defense, it fundamentally misunderstands the crime. The stage is set, the players are in place, and the story of loyalty, love, and betrayal is about to be told. Silent as it is, the courtroom is heavy with anticipation. Every gaze, every memory, every unspoken grievance is a piece of evidence. And the verdict, though not yet spoken, is already forming in the hearts of those who have been most affected. The first witnesses take the stand, Garrison and Gabriel Brown, brothers who have grown into men shaped by both love and neglect. They carry themselves with quiet dignity, but behind their calm faces lies a storm of emotion. This is not just testimony, it is the lived reality of children who endured a father's absence and a family divided. First to come forward is Garrison. A young man in the National Guard, responsible, hardworking, saving for a home of his own. He is no rebellious teen. Yet under Kody's rules during the COVID pandemic, even normal precautions became a battlefield. Disinfecting mail, changing clothes after visiting a store, and avoiding contact with anyone outside the approved bubble weren't about safety, they were tests of loyalty. Slowly, the bubble shrank until only Robin and her children remained inside. Garrison recounts his attempts at reasoning with his father. I am following the CDC guidelines. I'm being careful. I have a job. I have a life. I am saving for a house, he says, steady but with the weight of frustration. And yet, Kody's anger wasn't just about health, it was about control. His son's independence was seen as a threat to the family hierarchy, a challenge to the kingdom he and Robin were constructing. Then, there is Gabriel's testimony, a moment that cuts as close to the bone as possible. Gabe remembers a birthday day which is supposed to be steeped in celebration and warmth, but it turned out to be a symbol of neglect. On October 11th, his father called not to wish him happy birthday but to ask, in a detached manner, if he had any symptoms of COVID. When Gabe reminded him that it was his birthday, Kody made a half-hearted excuse. The boy's voice shakes as he recalls it, and for the first time, the courtroom feels the full weight of emotional abandonment. The prosecution does a good job with words to paint a picture of favoritism and hypocrisy, how Kody was so attentive to Robin's children, even in minor accidents or illnesses, as compared to the neglect shown to Garrison and Gabe. This is the narrative: these older children were not tended, they were managed, punished, and marginalized. And each act of control, each demand for obedience, was another thread in that tapestry of alienation that had long been weaving its way through this family. The sons explained to the courtroom that Kody's loyalty tests and rules were not simply misguided, they were damaging. And with testimony complete, the first seeds of judgment are sown. The core of the defense's argument, that respect can be demanded, begins to buckle under the undeniable weight of lived experience. The courtroom is heavy with anticipation as Janelle Brown steps forward. Calm, composed, and deliberate, she carries a quiet authority. She is not here to yell or to attack, she is here to tell the truth, a story of a mother forced into an impossible choice and the strength she found in standing firm. Months of tension culminated in this moment. In the lead up to it, Kody had retreated, physically, financially, emotionally. He retreated to Robin's house for protection, putting Janelle in charge of her household. Calls from Kody were not to connect with her or the kids but to criticize. He was making demands that she had to choose between him and her children. That demand was shocking, unnatural, and cruel. A father asking a mother to forsake her children. This was the ultimate test of loyalty, not between spouses, but between parent and child. Janelle testifies in a measured tone that is powerful nonetheless. She recalls the conversations in a modulated voice, starkly stating the Kody ultimatum. He was telling me, she says, that I had to choose between him and my children. She leaves the words hanging in the air to eventually settle upon the jury, children, and audience. In that instant, the court finds not defiance, but clarity. Janelle will not abandon her children. These are my children. They are your children. We are a family, she says bluntly. With those words, she draws the line. She is not just defending her position, she is reaffirming the bonds that truly matter: the love, loyalty, and protection a mother gives her children. With this, the prosecution underlines the essential truth: to them, family was a hierarchy of obedience, not a network of love. Janelle's refusal is not just a personal victory, it shows the hollowness at the heart of their power. It shows that manipulation, control, and favor cannot substitute for real parental concern. Through Janelle's words, the jury witnesses a mother's moral and emotional clarity. She did not buckle, she did not break, and with that, she unveiled the failure of the patriarchal control Kody had tried to implement. This is where the children and the audience see in stark contrast how a love from a parent can be and what it should never be. Her testimony sets the stage for the inevitable conclusion: the consequences of neglect and favoritism are not theoretical, they are real, they are lasting, and they are irreversible. The courtroom has been silenced now. The testimony of the sons and Janelle has painted a picture of a father who wished for obedience but did not nurture, a mother who chose her children over a hollow hierarchy, and a family fractured due to favoritism and neglect. Now comes the verdict. This verdict is not rendered by gavel or legalese in the children's court, it is felt within a collective recognition of the truth. On charges of gross parental neglect, willful emotional abandonment, conspiracy to commit familial alienation, and breach of patriarchal duty, Kody and Robyn Brown are hereby found guilty on all counts. The verdict is absolute, and its consequences ripple outward. It confirms for Janelle the family she has built over 2 decades, kids who are thriving individual and successful Garrison, heartbroken to determined Gabriel, and a stable and in love Logan, Maddie, and Hunter. Every child is a testament to her parenting, her given love, and a reminder of the fight she had instilled in them. Her victory lies not in the defeat of Kody but in the thriving life that she created irrespective of him. For Kody and Robyn, the consequences couldn't be more grave, more inescapable. The grand estate that was once intended as a symbol of success, of control, has become for them a gilded prison. Gone is the vibrancy of a large, chaotic family, replaced by silence and isolation. Robyn certainly got what she wanted, a consolidation of Kody's attention into the closest thing to a quasi-monogamous household, but at a terrible cost. Most of the children were gone, emotionally and physically, leaving her with a partner who was bitter, disconnected, and possessed by ego. There are indeed financial consequences to boot. With Christine and Janelle gone, and most of the kids estranged, the family pot which once supported the household is now empty. Kody and Robyn are left to shoulder the mortgage of a home they cannot fill or sustain, a reminder of the emptiness of their victory. On an emotional level, the verdict is plain. Janelle raised a family of autonomous, empathetic, and strong people. Kody and Robyn expected blind loyalty, played on the love of others, and created a pecking order that excluded the one thing: the people who should have loved them. Their legacy isn't one of dynasty, it's a cautionary tale of pride, control, and the outcomes of abandonment. In the end, the children's court dispenses with natural justice. You reap what you sow. Janelle planted love and reaped a healthy family. Kody and Robyn demanded obedience and harvested isolation. QED. The story leaves us to answer which one provided the strongest testimony. Was it Garrison, his refusal to be controlled? Or Gabe, whose heartbreak laid bare the depth of emotional neglect? And in this story of triumph and loss, viewers witness the undeniable truth: love, if true and given freely, will always endure. With the verdict being read, the story concludes not in a courtroom drama but in reflection. The Brown family saga is more than just a tale of neglect and favoritism. It is a portrait of human behavior, of choices made under pressure, and the long-term consequences of those choices. The focus moves beyond individual blame to the enduring impact on relationships, family bonds, and personal growth. The success of Janelle is quiet and deep. Her children are not merely surviving, they are well and fine, not because of richness or prestige, but because of the values instilled in them: resilience, independence, and empathy. Every success, every milestone of her children, testifies to her unwavering commitment. Glimpses of family dinners, vacations, and celebrations through social media show the life she nurtured, filled with warmth, laughter, and connection. Images as such stand as living proof that love, attention, and guidance matter more than grand gestures or forced obedience. For Kody and Robyn, the reality is different. Their elaborately built home, once viewed as a picture of control and perfection, now serves to demonstrate their isolation. The walls of their large estate are reticent with silence, and the absence of the children serves as a constant reminder of the outcome of emotional deprivation. Robyn achieved her aim of having a well-managed home and an almost monogamous partnership, but at a price: the loss of family, joy, and legacy. The financial and emotional toll is entwined. Without the greater family network, the empire that they build together is fragile, dependent on their limited resources and efforts. The house once stood as testimony to accomplishment but then turned into a symbol of both literal and figurative confinement. This feels like a pressure cooker wherein frustration, tension, and unfulfilled expectations are brewing, drawing attention to the high price of power exercised without any compassion. Of course, the overall Brown family story teaches a universal lesson: the choices parents make leave lasting imprints. Respect and love cannot be demanded, they must be fostered. Control and favoritism can only produce division. Janelle's journey shows the power of steadfast love, while Kody and Robyn's path reveals the dangers of ego and manipulation. The story ends with the reflection for viewers: in families, as in life, the true measure of legacy is not wealth, control, or public image. It is the bonds we nurture, the respect we earn, and the lives we help flourish. In many ways, the Brown family story is a cautionary tale but also a reminder that resilience, compassion, and authentic care can rise above even the most difficult circumstances. As the story of the Brown family comes to a close, the cameras pan outward from the courtroom, out to the viewers themselves. The children's court may have delivered its verdict, but now the ultimate reflection resides with the audience. Whom do we side with? Whom did we find giving the most striking testimony? Garrison, whose steadfast defiance revealed courage and self-respect? Or Gabe, whose vulnerability exposed the raw emotional toll of neglect? This final section invites viewers to engage, not as spectators of the moral reckoning, but as active participants. The narrative encourages reflection on the themes we have followed throughout this saga: parental responsibility, loyalty, love, and the consequences of emotional neglect. The audience is asked to reflect upon their own lives, their relationships, and the way they give or request love. The Brown family here reminds viewers that in terms of the legacy one leaves, it is not built on wealth or control. Rather, it's built on care, attention, and time invested in others. Janelle's family prospers because she has planted the seeds with patience and dedication. Kody and Robin, while they might have achieved control, face isolation and the results of demanding obedience rather than healthy relations. In the last minutes, the narration invites the audience to consider what they have just witnessed and to share their opinions. The story is at once cautionary and an inspiration, one of warning against neglect, favoritism, and false illusions of control, and yet celebrating the durability of love, resilience, and moral clarity. As viewers consider the testimony, the verdict, and the aftermath, they are invited into the dialogue. Who served as the greatest example of the meaning of parental love? Who suffered the consequences of their actions? And finally, what is it that can be moved forward into our own families and communities? The documentary wraps up on a note of resolution but also with an open invitation to continued introspection, a reminder that the Brown family story, unique as it is, holds resonance well beyond their walls. As the court action recedes into the background, the camera lingers on the legacy of this story in the present day, its fortitude, the triumphs won, and the lessons learned. Janelle's family stands as a shining example of what love, patience, and moral courage can achieve. Her children have grown into strong, independent adults, thriving in their own lives and carrying forward the values she instilled. They stand living proof that love nurtured is far more powerful than control demanded. Garrison, Gabe, and the other kids have not just weathered the emotional hurricanes of their childhood, they have truly thrived. Their accomplishments, their closeness, and their ability to start making their own lives illustrate that even in a life of neglect, care, guidance, and love can form a lasting base. Though marked by conflict, the story of the Brown family ends with a triumph of connection, resilience, and hope. Meanwhile, Kody and Robin serve as a cautionary tale of control and favoritism, ego-inflated, with consequences to be had, and how isolation and regret so often follow when one loves conditionally and manipulatively. Their gilded cage may be expensive and grand, but it's empty compared to the vibrant life of Janelle's family. Hence, for the viewers, the message is loud and clear: there are relationships that are based upon understanding, care, and continuous presence. One cannot command respect or love, it has to be gained. It is not power or possessions that measures the legacy we leave, but the bonds nurtured and the lives helped to flourish. And so, the story closes with hope. Hope that love, patience, and integrity will always outlast manipulation and control. Hope that even the most fractured of families will find their way back to connection and joy. And hope that audiences will take from Janelle and her children the inspiration to nurture their own families and relationships. If you are moved by this story, hit that like button, subscribe to Sister Wives Crew, and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our future deep dives. Share with us in the comments section, what struck you most in this episode: the courage of Garrison, the heartbreak of Gabe, or the unwavering love of Janelle? In the end, the family saga of the Browns ends not only with lessons learned but also evidence that love, if nurtured, will always win.